Hi everyone, welcome to the next in the series of SpeakIn webinars, and we have a mental health expert, Dr. Lisa Bélanger from Canada, who will be joining us and helping us how to get through in this lockdown.
So as mentioned, I'm coming to you from Canada, so it's morning here and I understand it's evening there, so thank you so much for joining us. I am CEO of ConsciousWorks, which is a consulting firm that really looks at behavior change and proactive approaches to your mental health and mental well-being. So what behaviors do you have control over that'll influence your mental and brain health? So that's a lot of what we'll be talking about today.
Thank you so much. So this pandemic, the whole crisis we are in, and a lot of negativity is all around. People, their deaths are happening, and economy is going down. So how do you maintain positivity around yourself in this whole phase?
Yeah, and I think this is such an important question. A lot of the news is incredibly negative. It's frustrating. There's not a lot of hope going around. So there's a few things you can be proactive about. One thing is to limit your media consumption. So it's not saying to not know what's going on in the world. We obviously need to know what's happening right now, what's expected of us, but perhaps limiting that to a portion of time in the morning, portion of time in the evening, and not connecting with it continuously. Social media falls under that because, of course, we're being inundated with information about what's happening around the world. So being able to limit that is really important. The other thing I strongly suggest, and I've been doing it with colleagues and the people I'm talking to on the phone, is find a different topic to talk about, because unfortunately most of our conversations are going back into what's happening, and shifting a little bit of your gears when you are talking about what's happening around the world to what is possible. So a lot of these restrictions and barriers are being put in place. For example, the locking down, being in quarantine, not being able to run business as usual. Families are being challenged with this as well. So looking at it as what is possible and being kind of creative around your approach, because it is something that language matters. What we consume matters, and being able to shift that into more of a positive light.
All right. What has also happened is a lot of people have been separated from their families because this lockdown was sudden. So do you have any tips for them? How do you get through this phase, separating from your families?
As humans, we need social connection. So that's one of the reasons this is so challenging and presents a lot of barriers on doing that and maintaining that. The good thing is it's happened in 2020. We have ways to video chat, we have ways to connect via phone, and making sure that we do that and that we invest in those relationships now more than ever. And even when we're talking to clients and we're doing business, being able to ask how they're doing, how their pets are doing, how their children are doing is really important to bring that human aspect into business. The other thing that becomes more important, so like I said, as humans, we need social connections. Our brain needs it for mental well-being. But there's other things we need too. Physical activity, sunlight, mindfulness, movement, all these things become more important when we don't have that social connection. So making sure that you're investing in that daily. How are you moving? Who are you connecting with? How are you connecting, being creative around that? Mindfulness practices, if that's what works for you. Having joy and entertainment. Being conscious of how you're investing your time and energy, again, becomes even more important when we're in solitude. The other thing that we know fundamentally changes our brain chemistry is being grateful. So really finding little, I call it gratitude from solitude, but finding things we are thankful for and recognizing those. This is temporary. I know it doesn't always feel like that because there's a lot of uncertainty out there, but if you can focus on that and try to invest your time and energy and effort into things that you know are going to improve mood and keep you well during this time is so important.
That's one end of the spectrum. The other end, there are a lot of people who have been forced to live together with their families, and they are experiencing a sudden loss of privacy. So how do you manage that in this phase?
You get to know each other really well over this period of time. I think we're all experiencing that a little bit because very few of us have been required to stay with even our families for significant parts of time. This what everybody needs to do is take inventory of what they need. So if everybody needs some solitude at some point during the day, an escape, like a physical space to escape to, or even if it's just we do not disrupt, or we have silent time, or whatever it is, and then a need to connect. So how can you be really proactive in the way you connect with your children or with your spouse or whoever happens to be in the vicinity, and making it quality time as well. So I think that that's really important. But more than anything, and I cannot stress this enough, is communication with people around you. Communicating how you're going to change off, for example, if you're minding children, or how you're going to manage certain situations. And again, being able to communicate what you need. So do you need time alone? Do you need more rest? Do you need to get moving? Do you need a space to disconnect or to move? So just being able to really reach and communicate with those that you are stuck with during this period of time.
Okay, that's a good tip to have, to communicate. So after this phase, still there will be a lot of things going on, people losing jobs, they'll suffer financial losses. Do you have any things they can prepare beforehand for that phase, things they can do right now?
Yeah, and I joke around, I'm a control enthusiast, so I like things that I can manage and I can control, but this is an uncertain time, and I certainly need to let that go, because there's a lot of moving parts to what's happening in the economy, what's happening around the world, what's happening with health, access to services. So it is, there's a few things, being able to know what you can control and dedicating some time to that, being sure to ask for help when you need it. There's government services. Every country that I've been reading about has some sort of stimulus plan. There's some access to services out there. So making sure that you're informed and making sure that you do ask questions on how this can assist. This is, again, temporary, but can you be creative on what your skill sets are, what you're able to offer, who still act, what companies are still running, is there opportunities there, and really trying to understand that this is not normal, this is not something we have experience in, so how can we make it work? And then also being creative on how you can save money if it is having a financial ramifications for you. So are there ways to incorporate some of those services being offered, looking at what's available to you in your community, and it is different across the world, but there's definitely a lot of arms reaching out to help. But then if we go back to that first question too, in these periods of uncertainty, can we maintain a positive mindset? This isn't forever. So can we get through it? Can we do what we can while we're in it? And then knowing that there's going to be a launch point where we can get back to semi-normal after this whole situation.
Okay, thank you so much. So any actionable tips you'd like to give, like people can start right now?
Absolutely. Connecting is so important. I think we all kind of realize this right now, and I'm looking at one of the questions. When your team's morale is low because of their surroundings and what they're going through, this is so common. Like I said, we get onto team calls or on different calls, and it's just the whole conversations around what's happening. So if we can shift some of that conversation towards some positive affects, some things that are going on in the world that are really fantastic, and making note of that and starting from the right spot. The other thing is, I strongly recommend, and I know this is outside of a lot of people's culture and practices in the business world, but taking a moment at the beginning of meetings to become present. We are all thinking and going a mile a minute, whether or not you even are conscious of it. So being able to get people in the present with breathing exercises, or with just a really great cup of coffee that everybody has in their own specific spots in the world, and enjoying that, and finding some questions to ask about people that are maybe just interesting or different but positive. So talking about what foods you would eat if you could only have one, or what is your favorite place you've ever traveled to, and just taking a moment to be human and to interact and to have a positive interaction that isn't about the dire situation that we're facing. I think that's so incredibly important. There's also ways to build community online that I strongly suggest when you're working in a team. So everything from online chess games that you can play against each other and have a little fun to I know some people are having happy hour after work on Friday that they have a glass of wine, and again, all in their own privacy of their own home, but they have some really positive interactions there. There is another suggestion is taking a picture of your workspace and having some fun with it and sharing it with your team, because we're all in different situations right now. So where is that? Is it, your computer topped onto like a ironing board? Do you have a dedicated office? Are you having a little bit of fun with it? And then the other thing is one of the struggles from working home right now is your kids and your pets are often around. Yeah. One of the fun things and very like bringing them into the calls, we all know we're facing this challenge. So can you kind of use that to create a couple smiles and get a little bit more positive interactions?
Okay. That was quite helpful. So we'll open for questions. I think there's a question of how does one manage joining a new firm at this time? So if you can take that question.
Yeah, I think this becomes so incredible. I'm actually hiring 2 employees April 1st, which is, a really fun time to try to onboard people and to create these relationships. That's the point of onboarding. So when you're joining a new firm, I strongly suggest to reach out and offer to take somebody for coffee. And of course it's virtual, but just making 20-minute meetings, 15-20 minutes of saying, hey, I'm joining, this is who I am, this is my face, this is what I'm going to be responsible for, and starting to develop those relationships. One of the unique things right now that I want people to see as an opportunity is people have more time to take meetings than they ever normally have. They don't have commute time, so there's some opening in space and time. Again, there's some sort of competing needs for a lot of people, but to me, it's a fantastic opportunity to actually get face time with people that you wouldn't normally get it. So being new to a company, reaching out, trying to create these virtual meetings or even emails that are like, hey, wanted to introduce myself, this is who I am, and this is what I'm responsible for, and, some tidbits about who you are as a person too, because that's a lot of the relationship building. So I hope it's an opportunity. The other thing that's kind of interesting is you do get to meet the pets, the kids, and see into somebody's space. Yeah. Which is not normally what you get to do. And I know now that you have an amazing brick wall, or a faux brick wall in your house. I didn't know that before.
That's quite a helpful tip you give. So thank you so much for joining us for this webinar. I think you gave some valuable tips which you can implement right now.